Unless you've been living under a rock, which I don't think anyone does, you know by now that Carlo Ancelotti has left Neymar out of the Brazil March squad or roster. Okay, so the last window where Brazil has friendlies prior to the 2026 World Cup, and Neymar was left out. Now, mind you, this is a healthy and fit Neymar. He's not injured. Carlo Ancelotti decided to keep Neymar out of the roster. So for that reason, I think it's time for us to talk about Neymar and the 2026 World Cup. Hello, hello. If you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Chapéu Football, where we provide the best coverage of Brazilian football in English on YouTube or even South American football. So obviously, once Neymar was left out of the roster, there were a lot of emotional and irrational takes about whether or not he should go to the World Cup. Does he deserve to be in the World Cup? Is Ancelotti going to bring him to the World Cup? So today, I want to try to give the most rational take possible, go through what Ancelotti said, facts, data, and then try to provide an outlook on whether or not Neymar will play in the 2026 World Cup. So I'll go through that, and at the end of the video, I'll tell you what I think Ancelotti will do, whether or not he'll bring Neymar to the World Cup, because he still has a shot, right? He was in the preliminary list, and Ancelotti is scouting him. And I'll also tell you at the end of this video what I would do. Would I bring Neymar if I was Carlo Ancelotti? Because listen, there is no Brazilian coach right now that would have the balls to not bring Neymar to the World Cup if he was healthy. The problem is, Carlo Ancelotti is not Brazilian, and he most certainly has the balls to not bring Neymar to the World Cup. It can very well happen. Listen, before we start, I want to tell you one thing. We will be doing here on YouTube a live watch along for the game between Brazil and France this March, okay? When the game happens, we're going to be going live with English commentary. So if you want to practice your English, if you want to hang out during the game, it'll be here on YouTube. So make sure to subscribe right now. Don't forget to drop a like in this video. If you haven't already, do it. It helps the channel quite a bit. With that said, let's begin. Okay, so before I actually start talking about everything that I want to make one thing clear, because a lot of the Neymar fans, which I'm a Neymar fan myself, will probably attack me because I will be critical of Neymar, rightfully so. However, I am a big Neymar fan, as I said, right? To me, Neymar is the second best Brazilian player that I have ever watched, only behind Ronaldo, R9. I think Neymar was better than Rivaldo, Kaká, Ronaldinho, all these players that I've watched. Neymar to me is only worse than Ronaldo. So I'm a big Neymar fan. But there's a lot of things that we can criticize him for throughout his career, rightfully so. But before we get to Neymar specifically, let's bring up the Brazilian roster. So Ancelotti released on Monday, segunda-feira, the Brazilian roster. Now, I'm going to ignore the midfielders here where you see André Santos, Casemiro, Danilo. By the way, good call up here from Danilo from Botafogo, great player. Fabinho and Gabriel Sara. I'm going to ignore those because from a Neymar perspective, it doesn't matter. So Neymar can no longer play as a winger. According to Carlo Ancelotti, he said that himself, right? Neymar would have to play as a 10 central because wingers need pace and intensity. Neymar doesn't have that anymore. He's lost it, right? So he'll be competing with these guys. Endrick, Gabriel Martinelli, Igor Thiago. He's a center forward, actually, so probably not. Luis Henrique, Mateus Cunha. Cunha can play as a center forward, can play as a 10, so definitely competing with Neymar. Rafinha can play as a 10. Ryan from Bournemouth. Vini Jr. from Real Madrid, and João Pedro. So let me put it this way. For those that still think that Neymar will make it to the World Cup, look at this list. Estevão is not there, right? He's not healthy right now, and Estevão is a World Cup lock. So even without Estevão, Neymar's still not there. Rodrigo, that was a World Cup lock, but now he's obviously done. He's not going to play in the World Cup. He tore his ACL, knee injury. He's not there. And Neymar's still not there. So without Estevão and Rodrigo, Neymar's still not there. Estevão should be back for the World Cup. This is not good, right? If you want Neymar in the World Cup, that makes the odds look lower. The second thing that I ask you is, who would you remove to add Neymar? And I know Neymar fans, or not fans, the fanboys, the ones that can't see through the fanboy lenses, right? They can't remove those fanboy glasses. They just keep seeing it the same way. And they say something, well, I would put Neymar in for Endrick, Martinelli, Luis Henrique, Rafinha, Mateo. He's better than anyone, right? And look, if you're just going to look at pure talent, yeah, Neymar is a bigger talent than all these guys. But there's more aspects to the game than one player. And Carlo Ancelotti needs to make or needs to have the best team. And sometimes having the best team doesn't mean just calling up the most talented players that you have available, right? We're not playing FIFA or Football Manager here. There's a lot that goes into it. Now, let me dive into one thing because I saw a lot of people comparing, for example, Neymar's situation to Ronaldo in 2002. For those of you that don't remember, Ronaldo in 2002, he was out for like, I think almost 2 years old, something like Neymar. He was injured and coming back. He had a massive knee injury, I believe, in 1999. And he tried to come back, got injuries, hamstring. He was out for like 2 years. And he went to the World Cup. And he was brilliant in the World Cup. He was the best player of the World Cup, Ronaldo, right? He's the big one of the big reasons why Brazil won alongside Rivaldo and obviously a good supporting cast. Before the World Cup, he this was his season, right? He came back. He was coming back from the patella that he ruptured, and then he played against Lecce. He got a few goals here in the Italian Serie A for Inter Milan with Brescia. Chievo got an assist, 2 goals against Verona. Then he had a hamstring injury. Like similar to Neymar. Neymar comes back from the knee injury and has multiple other hamstring or muscle injuries. Then Ronaldo came back in April. Look at this. He came back in April. And then obviously he scored 2 against Brescia, scored again against Chievo. He was scoring, right? This is in April. And Brazil actually called him up in March when he wasn't even playing, right? He played in March of 2002. He was there for 45 minutes against Yugoslavia, 45 minutes versus Portugal. And then obviously he went to the World Cup, right? He played the friendly against Malaysia. And then in the World Cup, he pretty much scored every single game besides the game against England. What's my point here of the difference between Neymar and Ronaldo? The differences are one, Ronaldo was much younger. Ronaldo was like 25, I think, back then, something like that. I also think Ronaldo is a better player, even though Neymar and Ronaldo, the levels are super close, right? Ronaldo is the best Brazilian player that I've ever watched in my life. I think one big difference here is that Felipão actually wanted to bring Ronaldo. When it comes to Carlo Ancelotti, it doesn't seem like he wants to bring Neymar. Like think about it for a second. Look, Felipão clearly wanted to bring Ronaldo. He didn't want to bring Romário back then, but he wanted to bring Ronaldo. And as long as Ronaldo was half fit and available, Felipão would have brought him. It was pretty obvious before the World Cup. He brought him to the March friendlies. Neymar is healthy. Neymar is fit. Ancelotti, with the roster that I just showed you, he's clearly testing players out, like Endrick, Hayan, Gabriel Sara, and many others. He is testing them, right? Igor Thiago. Why would he not bring Neymar in March if he wanted Neymar in the World Cup? Think about it. Why would he not bring Neymar? And you may be saying, well, Neymar doesn't have to be tested. Fuck, he does. He does have to be tested. He hasn't really played soccer at a high level for like 2 years. He doesn't have the intensity. And we're going to talk about one thing in a second because very often people say that Neymar's issue is fitness. I kind of disagree these days. Okay, I disagree because I watched his game against Corinthians this weekend, and the problem was technical. It wasn't fitness. He's fit. He's running. He's just not performing at that level anymore. He's not the same Neymar right now. Is it confidence? I don't know. Is it match sharpness? Does he not care? I don't know because I don't question his talent. But the issue was technical. And even last year when I was watching Neymar, it wasn't just a fitness issue. It was technical. Sure, you give Neymar time and space, he'll punish you. He'll get goals. He'll get assists. And he's playing with a shit team. Santos is a terrible team. That doesn't help. So I'm not trying to make excuses, but again, he's been making some very bizarre plays. It's not just fitness. Okay, watch the games. I know a lot of you just follow social media, the fanboys, and they're going to shit on me. I know they're going to do that in the comment section, but watch the games. It's not just fitness. Okay, I want to make that clear. But it doesn't really matter what I think, right? It doesn't really matter what I think. What does Carlo Ancelotti think? I think that's one thing that matters. So let's put here on screen what Ancelotti said yesterday at the press conference, right? He was asked about Neymar, and he had this to say. He said, Neymar can go to the World Cup if he's 100%. Okay. Why didn't I call up Neymar now? Because he's not 100%. We need players who are 100%. Neymar has to keep working, playing, showing his qualities, and good physical condition. This is my issue with these comments. Neymar is 100% fit. He played the full game. He's running. He's fit. He is 100%. I think what Carlo Ancelotti is saying here is that he needs to be 100% of what he is from a technical and physical standpoint. And when he says showing his qualities in good physical conditions, like his physical conditions are fine, in my opinion. Obviously, he needs to be rested from time to time. He just came off a knee surgery, but he's fit. Neymar's skinny. He's in good shape. That is pretty obvious, right? And this is what is alarming to me because when people say, see, he said there's a chance, what do you expect Carlo Ancelotti to say? Let me ask you, what do you expect him to say? No, there's no way I'm bringing Neymar. I'm not bringing him. There's no way. He's not going to say that. He's going to always say that there's a chance because let's say Neymar starts balling out in April, scoring every single game, scores 1, 2 goals, then he'll probably call up Neymar. The problem is the way things are right now, unless it changes, there's a massive 180. I don't think Ancelotti wants to bring Neymar. I'm just trying to be honest and rational. Do I want that? I'll talk about that very soon. But I mean, the writing is on the wall. You can all see it, right? And this is what's alarming to me. Look at what else Carlo Ancelotti had to say about Neymar, which to me, the reason this is alarming is I watched ever since Neymar came back to Santos. I didn't follow at Al Hilal. I don't think he even played for Al Hilal, barely. Um, I didn't really miss many games. I watched like 90% of his games for Santos. Last year, I know it was injury packed, and at the end of the season, he did stand out for Santos against some very bad opponents, but he did help them not get relegated while he was banged up with his knee messed up. But this is what Ancelotti said. He said, with the ball, Neymar is doing very well. What he needs now is to improve his physical condition. Look, I'm not saying I know more about soccer than Ancelotti because I 100% do not know more about soccer than Carlo Ancelotti. I do not. But I've been watching Neymar for like a year and a half at Santos right now. There was a physical condition problem at times. I don't think that's the problem right now. Neymar looks fit. He looks ready to go. I'm telling you, I watched the game against Corinthians and even other games with Neymar, besides the one with Vasco, where he scored 2 goals. But even though he scored 2 goals, the overall performance against Vasco wasn't great. But he did score 2 goals, and you can't really say a player that scores 2 goals didn't play well. Neymar's issue is not just fitness or physical, it's technical right now. He's making some weird plays that I've never seen Neymar play this way in his entire career. These are mistakes that Neymar doesn't make. Bad dribbling, bad touches, bad decisions, losing the ball, clumsy, things that you don't see Neymar do. I've never seen him like that, right? This is not the Neymar that I remember. This is not the Neymar I want to remember, right? Because he's one of my favorite players of all time. He was incredible. PSG Neymar was unstoppable. Unstoppable. So my point here is Ancelotti even watching Neymar? Is he watching him? I don't know. I don't know. And here's the thing that's interesting, right? And this is important to point out. Neymar, he had a game between Santos and Mirassol, which was not the one this weekend that they played Corinthians right before the call up. It was one before. And Ancelotti was scheduled to go to that game, obviously to go watch Neymar. Santos is complete and utter crap. He's not bringing any player from Santos besides Neymar. And Mirassol is not a bad team by any means, but there's no player in Mirassol that's going to go to the World Cup. And Neymar decided to not play that game for load management. He was resting, the one against Mirassol. And Ancelotti was going to go. That was the game he had to play and stand out. And then Neymar played the next weekend or a couple of days after against Corinthians, the derby. And I watched that game. Neymar was terrible. There's no way to sugarcoat it. If you watch that game, he was bad. The decision making was terrible. The first touch was terrible. He was over dribbling and losing the ball every time he was trying to dribble past anyone. It was a horrible performance from Neymar. And he got an assist where he was kind of like trying to defend the midfield. The ball hits him and Gabigol scored. It was a bad performance. If you watch the game, you agree with me. If you only watch the highlights where someone picks and chooses when Neymar does something right, then I can't help you. But it was not a good performance against Corinthians. Okay. And he missed that game, right? And now, does Neymar have a shot to go to the World Cup? Yes, he was in fact in the preliminary list. That is true. So that means there is a chance that he'll go. He can also start playing very well out of nowhere because he's so talented. I'm just saying that even if he's playing for Santos, the way he's playing right now, he's not going to go to the World Cup. I don't think Ancelotti brings him. That's what I'm saying. Even if he's healthy. Some people have this idea that as long as Neymar is healthy, he's going to be there. This delusion. That's not true. He's going to have to be playing well for Santos. And right now, he's not. I don't care what people say. Now, one of the mistakes he made was going to Santos, right? Because the team is quite bad. And I know that doesn't help Neymar. The problem is, I thought that Ancelotti would bring him in March. I thought that could happen. And then if he brought him in March, he would be playing with good players of Brazil, and then maybe he would shine. But Ancelotti didn't bring him. He didn't bring him. Now, before we finalize this video, I want to go through one thing. How many games Neymar has left to prove to Ancelotti that he deserves to be in the World Cup? And the maximum amount of games that he could play until the World Cup call-up is 16. So it's a lot of games. It's a lot of games for him to perform. He has 10 games in the Brazilian League, 2 in the Brazilian Cup, and then 4 in the Copa Sudamericana, which is the Europa League of South America. He has 16 games. There are no excuses. And again, I said I would address on whether or not I think Ancelotti will bring Neymar to the World Cup. I'll say this. Any Brazilian coach would not have the balls to keep Neymar out if he's healthy. Ancelotti does. Okay, so if Neymar is healthy, Ancelotti could still leave him out. He could be playing for Santos. He could play all 16 games, and Ancelotti could still leave him out. I swear. He's proved that to us. He's proven that, Ancelotti. He does not care. For Neymar to go to the World Cup, he's going to have to be performing at a very high level in those 16 games. Not just playing, performing. Okay? That's just a fact, right? That's what Ancelotti has been doing. It's what he's saying. Ancelotti is also not Brazilian. Neymar does not have the appeal we think he has with Carlo Ancelotti. He has with me. I'm Brazilian American. He has with me. He's one of my idols. But honestly, Ancelotti is only looking at what Neymar does on the field. That's all he's doing. He doesn't care about how big Neymar's name is. He'll call him up if he thinks he can contribute on the field. And right now, it looks like Neymar won't go. So what do I think Ancelotti will do, and what would I do? I think Neymar will not go to the World Cup. That's what I think will happen. I think he won't go because he's not the Neymar that he used to be, and Ancelotti will not call him up just based on his name. Will he perform for Santos? I think he'll have some good games out of those 16 games. He'll have games where he'll shine because he's just that good. But we're also forgetting that Neymar might not play 16 games. His body might not be able to handle it. And he could also get injured again. That's another risk. If he gets injured, then Ancelotti's not bringing him. So I don't think Neymar will go to the World Cup. Now, what would I do? Assuming Neymar is healthy, assuming he's healthy, I would bring Neymar. I would bring him. And let me tell you why. Right now, we have a Neymar that can kind of cost you a game when he plays like crap, like the Corinthians one. He can be a big problem, a liability even. But Neymar can also win you a game, like the one against Vasco, for example. He can win you a game, right? If you put him in late in the game and he's on fire that day, he's your best player on the ball, right? Off the ball, he won't offer as much, but on the ball, he's your best player. And I think desperate times require desperate measures. My opinion would be I bring Neymar, I have a long talk with him, and have him embrace the role that he's a sub. It's like, guy, listen, if we need a goal, you'll come in. If we need to waste time at the end of the game, you'll come in. Besides that, I do not see you playing. You don't have the intensity that we need. You're also not sharp or consistent as you used to be. And I would bring him because I know people are going to say he's not going to embrace that role. But listen, The players have said that he is a group guy. They've said he's very good for the group. I know he's arrogant and all that, but they've said this, that he's a good guy for the group. Okay. And on top of that, this is Neymar's last shot. And this is his dream to be in the World Cup. I think he would embrace that role. And I think that he would want to go to the World Cup as a backup. He would accept that, in my opinion. So that's what I would do. Okay. I don't think Ancelotti will bring him to the World Cup. I don't think it'll happen. But I would bring Neymar as a sub. If you need a goal, you have him off the bench. It's a 26-man roster. In the past, you bring 23 players to the World Cup, but 2022 changed that to 26, and this one will be 26 players. You bring Neymar. You don't need 26 players that play every single minute. You can't even have that. They won't play. So having Neymar as player 25 or 26 in the roster to come off the bench if you need a goal, I'd rather have that. Look, for example, Hayan is a very talented player, great player. But if I need a late goal, I'm down 1-0 with 10, 15 minutes left, I'd rather put Neymar, even in his current state. Now, before we go, I want to put a quick criticism to Neymar just to close things up because this was kind of ridiculous. So Neymar went to the Kings League here and he took a penalty kick. And some of you are going to be saying, what's the problem? Right? He trained with Santos in the morning and then it's his off time. He can do whatever he wants. This is another reason I think he might not go to the World Cup. I don't think Ancelotti likes him. I don't think Carlo Ancelotti likes him. And Neymar needs to learn to read the room. He's not in a position of power right now. He's not going to make it to the World Cup because of his name. And this penalty kick that he took in the Kings League, was the same day as the call-up. Okay. Now, did he do anything wrong by going there? No, he didn't really do anything wrong. He can do whatever he wants on his free time. But read the room, man. Are you a soccer player or are you an influencer? You're talking about going to the World Cup. You weren't called in. Practice and go home. Stay quiet. Support the national team. Try to show that you really want to be there. It just, look, as I said, there's nothing wrong with him going to the Kings League and taking the penalty kick because he's the president of one of the teams there. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not a good look. It makes it look like you're an influencer, that you're unserious. Right at the day that the call-up happened, right? It's almost like he's provoking Ancelotti. I don't know. He's either provoking or he doesn't care. It's just a stupid decision. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just stupid. And this has happened throughout Neymar's career many times. Dumb decisions. He's one of the most talented players I've ever seen. Of his generation, to me, he's the second most talented, only behind Messi. Yes, more talented than Ronaldo. But his great career, by the way, he's had a great career, is filled with dumb decisions. And I think, unfortunately, at the very end of it, it's coming back to bite him. Okay. Once again, I'm a massive Neymar fan. I want him in the World Cup. I would bring him to the World Cup. I just don't think Ancelotti will do so. Okay. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Don't forget to drop a like in this video and tell me, would you bring Neymar to the World Cup? Thank you very much for watching and have a great day.